Hi, welcome to my channel. This is a client story and it's a robotic affirmation success, but actually it turned out to be an askfirmation. It started off as an affirmation and then we tweaked it, and I'll explain why we did that. First of all, a robotic affirmation has a subliminal effect on you because you're doing something else. So it's very important that you're doing something else at the same time, in my opinion. That's what works for me. So that you're not hyper focused on the words. You're really not focused on them. You're very nonchalant about them. You're very blasé when you're saying them. And when you get to the end of it, you're not even sure how many times you said it or anything like that, because you're focusing on the other thing, which is how they have this subliminal effect. This was an email coaching client and she wanted to get back in touch with an old friend that she hadn't spoken to in 2 years. They'd had a slight falling out, not massive, she said, and it kind of then fizzled after this kind of disagreement they had. They didn't have a big blow up and that was the end of it or anything like that, but she said it's been 2 years, we're still friends on Facebook, but neither one of us messages the other. She said, and I feel it's gone too long and I just don't want to be the one to reach out. Can I get her to do that? And I said, absolutely. For sure. But she said, but I want to use affirmations because this client is actually a member as well on my website. So she's seen my updates on the affirmations the robotic affirmations that I've been doing, the success I've had. And she said, I feel like there's zero resistance. I should be able to do this. So I said, okay. So I said, right, just come up with one sentence. This is what I have to do. It has to just be one sentence, because if I start changing it up, I have to then think about it. So I become a bit more analytical and a bit more noticing what I'm saying, rather than if I just put it on one sentence, I can put it on loop in the background in my head and not think about it too much. So I said, let's just choose a sentence. What do you want that to be? And she said, oh, shall I do like she's thinking about me or something like that? I said, it depends, doesn't it? If you want something result-based, so if there's no resistance, then you could quite easily go with she reaches out. Could you do that? Is there any resistance? She said, yeah, I think I could do that, no problem. So I said to just do it for 2 weeks, twice a day, 5 or 10 minutes at a time for 2 weeks. Don't take it too seriously. You've got nothing to lose. She's not in your life at the moment anyway. Your life is fine. So we had a bit of a chat with it, like a bit of a chat about that. And then she was doing it for a week and then she emailed me and said, I don't know, there's something a little bit off. She said, I wouldn't call it resistance. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't feel quite right. I'm a bit aware of it and I just don't think it's like you described them. And I said, okay, well, I had this recently with something and it was not really a big deal, but there was definitely something different there. So there was definitely, like she said, a little bit off than when I've been doing them and having the success. So I said, okay, it's best to kind of acknowledge that and go with that and go, that is something. I don't know what it is, but it is something which is changing the vibration of those words. So actually, what can we do instead? Can we change the phrase? And we went through different phrases. So I don't know. I think I'm going to feel the same with all of that. Maybe this is not my thing. So I said, what if you change it to an askfirmation? So you are asking for something. She said, what do you mean? And I said, well, instead of saying she reached out, so I'm just going to go Trudy. It's not her name, the girl's name, but Trudy reached out. Please get Trudy to reach out, because I've done that with stuff in the past. I've kind of done it. I haven't affirmed for that, but I have asked for things like that. So she said, oh yeah. Okay, I'll give that a try. And basically she was doing that and she said, yeah, I really feel resistance free with that because I'm just asking. I have no idea what I'm asking. Should I need to know what I'm asking? I said, no, we don't really know, do we? You know, if you don't care that you don't know what you're asking, then don't worry about it. If it's not bothering you, she said, no, it isn't. So she just carried on doing it. She did it for 2 weeks, came to the end of the 2 weeks. Trudy had not reached out. So she said, oh, well, nothing's happened, but you know, I gave it a go. And I said, yeah, but it doesn't mean that it has to happen as and when you're doing it. When I've been doing it, I must admit every single time, as you will see, if you do join my members area, that it happened really, really fast. I don't know why that is, it just did. And I was questioning on the last one that I did, whether it was the intention or the affirmation. So I'm still experimenting with that. Anyway, it came to the end of the 2 weeks and she hadn't reached out. She said, we were talking about other things. This was just a very small part of what we were talking about with our email coaching. Then we went back to the other stuff. It was career and it was an actual romantic interest as well. So we were talking about a few different things. And then a few days later, I got the email from her, OMG, Trudy contacted her. Hey, hope everything's okay. I was thinking about organising a reunion. What do you think? I mean, you know, like that, and she said like that was nothing I imagined at all, that she'd be thinking about organising a reunion. She said, the funny thing is, she said, she's really not an organising sort of person. She's always the one that lets everybody else do the organising. She said, so I don't even know whether that's real or whether it was an excuse for her to reach out, but either way. And so we analysed this, and I said to her, really speaking, it probably wasn't even the affirmations, it was really the intention that you set in the first place. So if you'd have not affirmed and you'd have just set that intention and 2 weeks had gone by, probably, I don't know this for a fact, but probably the same timeline. I think the thing to bear in mind with affirmations or any statement that you make is those words do have a vibration, so they have a feeling behind them. So even if you're doing them robotically, there is something there, even if it's very subtle and you can't really detect it, there is something going on there. So again, was it the intention? Was it the affirmations? We'll never really know, will we, in any case, because when people use affirmations to manifest and they work for them, they go, okay, it's the affirmations, but we'll never really know whether it's just, it would have still happened anyway, just with that intention. But either way, I'm enjoying them for certain things still. I like doing them. I feel like you're guiding yourself to that particular energy by using them. But if I try and say an affirmation with feeling, although I do like my Louise Hay ones, all is well, I love that affirmation, I do say that with feeling. Those kind of affirmations I can say with feeling, but if I sit there and I'm consciously aware of affirming for something, it just doesn't work for me. I cannot get into the right headspace. It has to be this subliminal effect from those robotic affirmations. So anyway, so that happened, and they've been backwards and forwards texting, like they've now come away from Facebook and they're actually texting each other. Oh, it's like we've never been apart. It's like that 2 years never happened. So we haven't mentioned that. Should I mention what happened? And I said, oh, I don't know. I just don't know whether you should or not. Like, it will be on you whether you mention it or not. If it feels right to mention it, mention it. If it doesn't, doesn't. I mean, don't feel there are any rules here. Just go with what you manifested. Just go with the flow and just see what happens. I think we have to do that more in life. Stop taking this stuff too seriously. We don't have to know everything that's going to happen, but you have done that with the magic of words, basically. Whether it was just the intent to start with or whether it was the affirmations, it has worked for you. You got what you wanted. I mean, I love these stories, and I do get people use the robotic affirmations from my members area that it just doesn't work for them at all because they cannot get that pure feeling. So that there's always something there, that if there's a niggle there, then there's a niggle there, and just accept that and accept that actually maybe this isn't for me. It isn't for everyone. Not everything is for everyone. For me, like I said, for certain things I can feel that difference there, like she said to start with, and I just go, no, I can't use them. If there's anything other than zero resistance, then I will not use any kind of affirmation. That's just me. And for some people, they just won't work at all because you'll never be free of that. You'll maybe always feel the lack, even with a robotic affirmation. I mean, I don't know. It's a case of just messing around, isn't it? And seeing, having a go, but not pushing through pain. Never push through pain with this stuff, because it's not about that, is it? Manifestation and whatever's going on here is about flow. So if you're pushing through pain, then you're not in flow at all, are you? You're pushing your boat upstream. You're getting out and you're pushing it upstream. So I would always say, don't do that. Why put yourself through that? Just find another way. There's always another way. There's never the way. There's never the one way that works for everyone. Some things work for some people and some things work for others. But here you go. I thought I'll pass that one on here. And the reason I am passing it on here and not on my members area, but it's because it's not personal to me. And also she wanted me to. So I hope that this was useful. If you don't know anything about me, I'm an author, manifestation coach, and a mindset coach.